Shots fired. Shots fired. Last night I had plans to do an article this morning about the events in Minnesota. I had watched that Facebook live feed several times, and I was particularly taken by the woman being forced to her knees while she cried out for the whereabouts of her daughter after her boyfriend had been killed during what's called a routine traffic stop. I planned to rip and tear at the police up there and compare them to the steady eye of Wyatt Earp. But after the last night in Dallas, you'll never see that article. Black Lives Matter does about as much good in relaxing racial tension in this country as throwing gasoline on a fire. If you will note, the march in Dallas was a peaceful one. That doesn't surprise me. Last year, when we had the famous swimming pool scandal, complete with the pretty girl in the yellow swimsuit, the agitators who came down from Chicago to orchestrate the event saw their plans for anarchy quickly evaporate in the Texas sun as the local teens showed more interest in summer break than sitting in the streets and disrupting traffic. During the Ferguson flap, no Texas cities were burned, and there were no repercussions after the unfortunate death of Sandra Bland, because the Texans simply don't do that, no matter what color they are. Texans did have an active KKK in time past. We have fought wars on our own ground. We've lived through Bonnie and Clyde, Indian raids, Waco twice, Charles Whitman, Luby's, and Fort Hood. We're well seasoned in tomfoolery. It's fashionable to point at Texans, the guns, and the hats, and the music, and allude to our population being a form of Neanderthal. What you saw in Dallas last night will show you that you may need us Neanderthals. When a Muslim kills and Donald Trump raises the option to oust all Muslims, there's always an outcry from organizations such as CARE, citing that one person does not define an entire people. I'll guarantee you that before the day is over, you will hear Hillary Clinton suggesting that the best solution to last night's event will be to disarm America, and most especially Texas. I want you to know that when the shots rang out last night, one protester, a black Texan, immediately surrendered his AR-15 to an officer, showing that he was not involved and he was not a danger. Please further note that the Dallas officer did not shoot the man, who was carrying the rifle as a demonstration of his Second Amendment rights and a visual protest to the shooting of the man in Minnesota. During the last 8 years, the dividing line between black and white has grown more solid and more pronounced. I've seen and heard things that I haven't seen and heard since I was a child in 1950s Louisiana. Groups such as Black Lives Matter cause events that funnel people into the streets and money into the pockets of the organizers. But they overlook one simple fact. The majority of Americans simply want to be left alone and allowed to go about living their lives in peace. They long for the day when they can teach their children again that if they become lost, to find a police officer and he or she will lead them home. There will be no race war. In the 60s, the term race war was always in the air, while the bulk of Americans just punched their time clock and went about their business. While the image of the fire hoses still comes to mind, last night police officers died protecting black protesters. Shots fired. I have a dream. I have a friend called Kent Franks up in Pennsylvania. He's black and he's a Yankee. He comes from the same era that I do. I want to meet him one day, and I want to fly him to Austin and take him to a bar and grill that I frequent down on 6th Street. My friend will not be in any danger. He will enjoy the Austin nights and the food as same as anybody else, and maybe, just maybe, the sound of shots fired will come fainter and fainter until all we hear is music.